We're going to show you how to make a festive mini drawstring bag. All you'll require is a small amount of fabric, some tape or ribbon, and a small piece of the Vlieseline F220. You're going to need just one piece of fabric, and this is 3.5 inches wide by 10 inches long. Of course, you can alter the dimensions and make a slightly bigger bag if you wish. You're going to need the same size piece of the Vlieseline F220. Now, the Vlieseline F220 is a fusible product. If you feel on one side it's rough, that is where the glue is, the fusible side, and that fusible side is going to go to the wrong side of your fabric. Once you have it in position, you're going to iron it in place with a medium heat on the iron. You can use a little bit of steam. Once it's fused, you're going to leave it for between 20 and 30 minutes to allow the glue to adhere to the reverse of your fabric. Now, a little tip: if you're using directional fabric, obviously when we fold this over, one side would be correct and the other side wouldn't. A simple tip after you've fused is just to half the fabric and sew the pieces together down the sides along the bottom. The next stage is fold the fabric in half. You're going to measure 3/4 of an inch from the fold to the top of the bag and pop some pins in. You could put a little mark with a pencil if you want to. Simply fold the fabric back on itself and just pop a pin in. Now we're going to treat these as separate pieces, so we'll pop a pin in that side. This ultimately will create the casing for your tape or ribbon. Do that on all sides. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sew down each side from that little mark that we made. It's easier to sew from the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I've just brought the fabric in a little bit. I'll do a stitch forward and then just a little reverse stitch back, and that'll just strengthen that bottom edge. Sew up. My stitch length is 2 and I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this. And we're going to sew up to that pencil mark. Move that pin back out the way. When you get to that pencil mark, or the mark that you've made, stop and just do a reverse stitch. And we're going to repeat that for the other side. I now need to sew these side edges where the casing is. I can remove that pin because I don't need it anymore. It's really important that you just flip the bottom edge over because we don't want to sew it. We're literally just sewing each piece individually, and you're going to do that on all 4 edges. Pop it under the sewing machine and just stitch up the edge. So you can see that one's sewn. Flip it over, flip this one underneath, so you're only sewing one edge at a time. So what we're going to do now is to create the casing. So you're simply going to fold this top edge down to your pencil mark and pop a pin in, and do that on both sides. Just make sure they're level and just pop a pin in just to keep it in place. Now to sew this, fold the opposite side underneath so it's not going to be sewn, and we're literally going to stitch across this edge here. remove it from the sewing machine, remove the pins, and you're going to repeat that process on the other side. The next thing you can do is just trim some of this excess away from the bottom. Turn the bag through to the right side and you can give it a little press. Remove any extra threads that you have. To make it easier for threading your tape or your ribbon through, pop a safety pin on the end and then simply pop the safety pin through there, so it's in one side, and pull it through. And then you're going to go through the other side and pull it through. Now at this point, just safety pin that end and it'll stop it escaping. We started on this end, so now this one is going to start here. And pull that through, and you're doing exactly the same, popping it through this end. Now whilst I'm going to knot these ends, what you could do is you could add some beads, some buttons or other embellishments if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. There's no need to capture that last one. All you need to do is to do a small knot on either end. And then we have a lovely drawstring bag. As you can see, Vlieseline has a wide range of products, each with different properties and benefits for your projects. You can view the whole range on the Vlieseline website, where you can download the brochure, which has detailed information on all of the products across our 4 categories. You can also join the conversation with us on our Facebook page, Creative Community Group and Instagram. All of the details are below.